Okay, normally when we write a class, we do public class, say H11 4. Okay, so when we write a class, we write like public class and then we write the class name, for example, person. And when we write the subclasses or whatever, we make use of the access modifiers. So here I will explain from this example, which is public. When you say public, this access modifier uh, is accessible to public means this is a public access modifier. It can be accessed from the same class. This is one thing when you say public. And also it can be accessed from the same package when you are writing a package. Here we didn't do any packages. And also it can be from accessed from a subclass. That subclass can be in a different package. That is also possible. Sometimes the public class, public method or public variable can also be accessed from subclass which is in the different package. Oh, sorry, accessed from classes in the different package. Okay, not only the subclass, it can be a class from a different package. Okay, any class from a different package. So that's the idea here. When you say private is more to encapsulation, hiding the information from others. So when you declare a variable as private, no other classes can access the variable except the same class. When you have a method as private, only that method can access that only that class can access that method. So when you say private, it can be accessed from the same class. This is the main thing. It's mainly for the encapsulation. There is some other things we can do which is protected. When you say protected, you have many things same like the public. So what is same like public? It can be accessed from the same class, fine. Accessed from same package, whatever class, you have it in the same package, of course. Sometimes you have your subclass in different package. So that is subclass, not all the classes. In different package, do you have any subclass for your class? So that can also access the protected class or protected members or protected variables. One other thing is default. Default means when you don't write any access modifier, straight away you say class something, void something. You don't write public, you don't write anything, no access modifier, nothing. So that is what you call default. When you say default, classes in the same package can access it. Also classes, okay, wait a second. Classes in the same package and the same class. That's it. So only two things. Same class, of course, can access, plus whatever classes in the same package they can access. So these are the access modifiers. Four different types of access modifiers. In my previous example, you might have noticed that I didn't write any access modifier for person, employee, student. So those are all the default modifiers. Okay. So these are the four types of access modifiers. Finally, one more thing is Final, we have a keyword called final. I can't say it's an access modifier. It's called final. Okay, let me open a new one. Sometimes you can have a class called um, okay, so let's try to have a class. Name is person, and it has some access modifiers, whatever is it. So sometimes inside the class, I'm going to have a variable, for example, um, like a final integer a equals 25. So this is a integer variable. The value is a25, for example. So let me have a modifier, sorry, a constructor which is person, and I'm planning to change the instead of constructor. Why to have? Why I'm just going to have a method called change. So why not? Change the value of a variable a equals 35 here. So let me call the method which is so p dot change. So when you call the method, what is it creates an instance of a class called person, and using that instance I'm calling the method change, and the change is going to change the value of the variable a. It was 25, now it's going to change it to 45. Okay, so let's try to compile it. So this is the problem. Cannot assign a value to a final variable. So here I declare a variable a as a final. When you say the variable a is a final, it is a constant. What does it mean constant? Value cannot be changed. That's the meaning. So you cannot change the value of a any other value, because I say final. Final means the value is final already. You can't add up a value. That is the final value. So when you try to change the value like what I did, you will have this error message. Cannot assign a value to a variable. Okay then. So that's one thing. And next, let's try to have a method called final. Okay, let's try to have a method final, and I'm planning to have one other subclass which is student again. So in the subclass I'm trying to override the method. What is overriding? When you declare many different methods with the same method signature in different classes, not in the same class, in different classes, that's overriding. Overriding means the same method name. Okay, everything. Okay, you're going to have the same signature. So that's the idea of the overriding. So let's try to override a final method. Yeah, the same thing it's happening here. You cannot override a method which is final. If it is not final, of course you can override a method. So this is what you call overriding. Public void change in the superclass, public void change in the subclass. This is overriding. But in the subclass, sorry, in the superclass we say final. And in the subclass, we try to override, we can't override. So remember, final variable is constant, cannot be changed. Final method cannot be overridden. And final class cannot be extended. Let's try to have a class, final class person. Okay, let me try to remove this. Okay, final method cannot be overridden. Okay, so let's try to have a final class. Person is a final class. I want to extend person. So here the same problem, cannot inherit from final person. When you say a class person is final, that's it. The final class cannot have a inheritance, a child class. It can't have a child class. So this one will create an error message. So final class cannot be extended. You use extends to create a base class, is it? You cannot use it to create a base class. Final class cannot have a child class. So this is the idea of the preventing extending. And how do you prevent overriding? If you want to prevent overriding, you don't want a method to be overridden, so try to write final. You don't want a value to be changed for a variable, write final. You don't want a class to be extended, you write final. If you want to prevent overriding and extending or changing, then you can use final. So this is the preventing and extending and overriding. Okay, so this is the end of chapter 11.